How's it going, everyone? It's your host and conductor on this wild ride, Demetrius Villa, and we are here talking about Virgin Trains may announce 3 new train stations in South Florida by year end. This is on The Real Deal, South Florida Real Estate News, and we're going to be talking about this. This came out July 13th, 2019. I've been meaning to talk about this, and again, this is another series of our videos of daily blogs we're going to do, because kind of stop this whole vlogging sort of thing on or more of the blogs and podcast sort of thing, because again, do you know the number one place for podcasts is actually on YouTube? That's right, everybody listens to Joe Rogan on YouTube again. So that's why I'm trying to figure this out so we can be more consistent with videos and give you the news, because this is actually pretty interesting right over here. So in this article, we're talking about representatives of the passenger train operator recently met with city officials in Hollywood and soon will meet with Boca Raton officials. Now, this is interesting because Brightline is supposed to be an express passenger rail system with 3 stops already in South Florida. Those being Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and then the next stop would be over in Orlando, and then the next stop after that in Phase 3 would be over to Tampa, with stops in between at Disney World or Lakeland. Probably going to be Disney World. So we're all going to Disney World on a wild ride. And by the way, if you guys love this wild ride and you love Brightline, be sure to go ahead and get a t-shirt that we made, right there, talking about how we love Brightline. It's going to be a bright, bright, sunshiny day. We got the train over here, bright yellow. We got Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, and Orlando, telling people where this wild ride is going. It's now Virgin Trains USA, but we still call it Brightline. It's a name that's been around with us. Virgin Brightline is probably be a name that we would rather like. So if you guys haven't seen that video by Minnovation Studios, I do encourage you to check it out on how he explains how it's a better deal business-wise to name this venture Virgin Brightline. But let's talk about this right now, because again, this is interesting because they said they weren't going to do more stations from here, but there were talks about more stations. And for those of you who are already saying about what about the Tri-Rail Coastal Link, we will also get to that as well. This is interesting though, because it says Virgin Trains, formerly known as Brightline, said in the June 28th filing that it wants to increase ridership by opening new stops in addition to its downtown train stations in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. The company did not identify any possible locations for new stations. So, if you've been following Brightline, it was supposed to be coming out in 2016. That's when they were going to have Phase 1 and Phase 2 completed in the original schedule. They were going to have everything done by 2015, at least Phase 1. Phase 2 would be completed by 2016. That's not what we got. We're in 2019 now, and Phase 2 construction is just started in the last month in June to get from West Palm Beach over to Orlando. That was the main deal of getting that, is getting Brightline from Miami over to Orlando, Virgin Trains USA, Miami to Orlando. But this is interesting now that they're coming up with this, because you're trying to increase ridership, at least in the onset, and offsetting all of that cost that you've generated in order to build that construction. So this could be a very interesting setup right here. I'm saying the word interesting because I've been repeating it, because it's not something that we've expected from Brightline. We thought they were going to stay with the 3 stations in South Florida, but since this is coming out, again, interesting. Very interesting. So where could these 3 additional stations be? One of these could be over in Hollywood. So for those of you who are not familiar with South Florida, we're going to go ahead and go through this map, and I'll show you right here. So this is downtown Miami right here. This is the whole Miami. This is the city of Miami officially right over here. So that's what we call Miami, even though anybody who lives in Miami basically calls all this basically Miami. But this is, South Florida. This is the city of Miami. So downtown Miami is right over here, and the station where Virgin Brightline is over here. Now this is old satellite imagery. I don't understand why, because on the same Google map they also have these stations already built up that have in Fort Lauderdale and West Palm Beach, and it makes no sense why this isn't here, but trust me guys, it's not a parking lot anymore. It is actually a full-fledged train station that is still continuing to grow, where they're going to have apartments, a hotel, and they've just opened up their food court as well with, high-end eatery and everything. So that's where it is over here. And again, one of the stations they're talking about, Hollywood, and also Boca Raton, which literally translates in Spanish to mouth of the rat, Boca Raton. Why anybody would live in mouth of the rat, I don't know. Boca Raton City Council members have expressed interest in having a new Virgin train station in their city. The potential site is an area of downtown Boca, several blocks west of Misner Park. And then the other station idea would be also considering a stop in Aventura, which I actually have lived next to for 24 years of my life. I was right down the street from Aventura. I actually, my middle school, elementary and middle school, was Aventura charter. And I caused a good ruckus of trouble back there. I was not a good kid. I was the kid that got A's in grades and F in conduct, but that was me. Virgin Trains has also considered adding a stop in Aventura, according to Stephen Abrams, executive director of the Tri-Rail commuter train service. So this is all very strange. So let's go through the map and see where that all is. So again, this is downtown Miami over here. We're going to go up all the way over here. This is where the FEC is, along this area over here. Again, this is a very built up area. Okay, so here we are. This is FIU Biscayne Bay campus over here. For you guys, you can see that's where my alma mater is, and that's where I spent a good majority of our time. And just a little just a little off the rail over here. We're gonna say this is where our actual our first studio was right over here, the second floor of AC1, I believe. Yep, our academic center 1. So interesting how that's we've gone from there all the way to Columbus, Indiana. But again, so let's stick on to here and probably come down to Florida again at some point, because Florida is growing. So this is Aventura right over here. This is Aventura right here. So North Miami Beach, this is my city over here. This is where I lived. And then this is Aventura. Okay, my family still lives in North Miami Beach. So Aventura is very close. So probably the best place they will probably put a station. There's an older rail yard over here. Let's see if I can find it. Where they're building new apartments. Right here. So this area right here is very close to the mall. It's also a very urbanized area, as you can see, and right across from there is Sunny Isles Beach. I remember with Google Maps when we were fooling around with it in school. That was a lot of my conduct trouble, fooling around Google Maps. We never had this capability with Google Maps back in my day. Talking about my day, we're talking about 5th grade, 3rd grade, and fooling around. So this would probably be a great place for a station, as you can see right here. Yep. This area right here, and there's some new apartments that they've already opened up these apartments over here. The last time I went, so there's apartments all down over here. Some new apartments all down over here. Yep, these are, again, all apartments. These all used to be trailer parks, so they've kind of upgraded there. So there you have it. It's right there, close to the mall. So imagine that. You go ahead and you could be commuting down over to Aventura Mall. So that opens up a lot. Or if you're, you live in Aventura and you work down in downtown, you can go ahead and go down there. If you had meetings in downtown, that'll be easy. Okay. So moving right along. Now, we're going into Hollywood. So right here is Hollywood, Florida, not Hollywood, California. Every time we mention Hollywood, people would think Hollywood, California. This is Hollywood. So right here, not Hollywood Beach is right across, but Young Circle Park is a pretty nicely built up area. You have a lot of apartments, a lot of real estate, a lot of restaurants, stores. Generally a very nice area. Probably where a station would be was probably close over here. This would be a great place, close to Hollywood Boulevard. If they could probably close a couple stations. Probably not in Harrison Street. Probably between Harrison and Monroe would probably be a better area to put that in. So then moving right along, we're going to go over to Fort Lauderdale. And again, we're following the FEC, which is the Florida East Coast Railway. So this is the Fort Lauderdale International Airport. It goes right under the airport, right around. And they're thinking of also adding in a stop also in the airport. How they'll be able to do that, I'm not quite sure, but it would be very interesting if they can do that underneath, some sort of gangway or conveyor belt to take you into the airport. That would be very nice. And again, that's where airlines and trains can actually work together to move people around. But, again, it makes sense. That's what we're trying to bring in, is more sensible type of infrastructure. So here we are. There's the river walk where it's going to cross over on the river in Fort Lauderdale. And this is where the station is right now. So again, it's very interesting how Google already has the station over here for Brightline in Fort Lauderdale, but not the one in downtown Miami, which makes no sense. So yeah, Virgin Trains already has their stop right here. And I'm using Virgin and Brightline interchangeably because they're more or less the same thing. They still have the Brightline marketing and Brightline liveries and logos all over the place. But again, Virgin Brightline has their station right here in Fort Lauderdale. So where would the other station probably go? Well, next it would be in West Palm Beach. But since we're talking about Boca Raton, Boca's over close to FAU, which is Florida Atlantic University. And according to this article, they said several blocks west of Misner Park. So that's closer. This is North Dixie Highway because the rail line goes over here. I'm not too familiar with Boca Raton. I haven't visited pretty recently. Misner Park. I've never actually been to Misner Park. I've heard of it. So it'll probably go somewhere around over here. Because this is this is downtown Boca. And it'd probably go around somewhere in here, in this area. So that's probably where it would go. And again, it's close to Florida Atlantic University. So very interesting that, you can be able to facilitate, the movement for people that live over in universities like that. And again, this is a very easy way to get people moving around. This is what we're trying to do, is to give people another option to get around. So that's what they're trying to do over here. And then you have Delray Beach. And then West Palm Beach is where the other station is for Brightline. Which it would be here. There it is. There we are. There is the Brightline West Palm Beach station. And it's right here in city area. There's the public library. This is it. See? This is what makes sense, guys, is having this. Look at this. There's the train station. And you're in walking distance within most of everything. And just as a little bit of history, there's the Breakers. That's actually one of the Flagler hotels over here. And then there's a Flagler steakhouse over here. And this is actually, where's Whitehall? Whitehall is pretty close over here. Just the actual Flagler house. Here we are. Henry Morrison Flagler Museum. This is Whitehall. This was Flagler's residence in his last days in Florida. So there we go. Again, I'm just giving a little bit of history right here. So this is where, the man, the myth, the legend, this is where he did it in. By the way, if you guys ever do visit, they do have rail car number 91 inside over here. This is the one that actually went into the Keys, that when Flagler built the rail line, and of course, thousands of other people who, blood, sweat, and tears, who built that rail line up. But of course, Flagler was the visionary who said it was a good idea and had the money and funding to go ahead and facilitate that and get those people jobs in order to build that. Again, he was on rail car 91 when he said, once they crossed over, that his life was complete, that he finished his life's work. Imagine people who could say that. I mean, that's where you want to, finish your life on. And this was in his last years. He was getting blind and deaf and coming into Key West and seeing the crowds welcoming him in, getting a rail line over between Miami and Key West on the overseas railroad. That was, that's one of the 7 wonders of the world. So that's what they're trying to plan over here. So again, now you see where this could all work, and this is the whole entirety of South Florida over here. And again, to connect over to Orlando, and then over Disney World is around over here. Lake Buena Vista, yep, there's Disney World. So again, Orlando International Airport, which is over here. Then Lake Buena Vista is over here, so that's Disney World. And Celebration, Florida, which is the planned city that they had afterwards. And then Lakeland's over here, aka the Principality of the Publix, or Emperor, Lord, and Savior Publix. And then there's Tampa. So that's how that whole rail system would work. This is all phase 1, phase 2, and then phase 3. So for those of you asking, and then again, there's other cities that are asking for Virgin Trains, Virgin Brightline, to make a stop. This is Palm Beach Gardens, which again, this is weird because they're talking to other cities about having a train station, but this was back. I know it's cut out over on your side, but this is July 12th. So right after, this is around the same time. This is July 13th. That Virgin Trains may announce 3 new stations. Palm Beach Gardens is also asking for that as well. That's near West Palm Beach. And where they're saying the immediate answer was no in regards to a proposal. And this is what Bob O'Malley, Vice President of Government Affairs for Virgin Trains, said. He wouldn't shut the gates completely on the idea. He says, quote, "We can't stop at every single community because that would slow the trains and impact service. Remember, this is supposed to be an express passenger rail service to get from major city to major city to major city to major city as quickly as possible within, speed limit laws, because we have some very antiquated, outdated speed limit laws, according to the FRA and according to, the rest of America's Department of Transportation. But this is what we could be able to, do at the time. So in 2017, Palm Beach Gardens was awarded $120K to plan a new Tri-Rail station that would extend. So what's going on with Tri-Rail? Because this whole coastal link, which what it was called, to link up all the way from basically as a commuter rail service between Homestead all the way up to Jupiter. So this is basically the encompassing of the whole entire region of South Florida. Brightline was going to allow, and the FEC was going to allow Tri-Rail, which already runs a commuter rail service on the CSX line that runs basically along I-95 in South Florida, has a commuter rail service, to allow them to come onto the rail line and also service passengers up and down. So this is the problem right now with Tri-Rail. There's a lot of rules, and because Tri-Rail is a government organization, and because they're running on a different set of rules between FEC, there's a little bit of mismatch, especially when it comes to PTC. For those of you not familiar, PTC is positive train control. In other countries, it's called ATC, or automatic train control in Japan and other places in Europe. So we don't have PTC implemented the same way all around. Because the U.S. made the rule you have to have some sort of form of PTC, but they never had a standardized form of PTC. So imagine that now that every single other rail company is having different forms of PTC. So because Tri-Rail is running on a different set of PTC and rules on CSX, they can't run it on the lines over at FEC because they have a different set of rules. So now they can't be able to do that. And again, this is pretty sad over here. This is from Stephen Abrams, Executive Director of the SFRTA, which is South Florida Regional Transportation Authority, saying that he's basically stopped making predictions at this point about when they're going to start the first leg of the coastal link, which is to connect. The first leg of the coastal link is to connect between, I believe it's the station. Now that I remember, I'm not quite sure which station it is, but it's somewhere around over here where they're going to get it on a junction and then bring it down over to downtown over here. So basically over on this side of 95, they bring it onto a junction and it's going to go into downtown Miami and connect right into the Brightline station. So again, this is very tough, and you have all these government organizations that it's involved in trying to get this to happen. So that's why I've been saying that government needs to ease off and relax a lot of these laws in order to have, passenger rail, and in order to have this happen. Because if it was a road, they wouldn't have a problem. And even to make a road, they take too long in order to make a road. So, I mean, if there was something that the current president Donald Trump did for infrastructure, it was cutting off a lot of the red tape for planning projects. There's still more to be done, but that was something that has helped quite drastically. And then you look at the comments here below. This is quite funny because this is what I was saying, and most people would think that the various PTC systems were supposed to be interoperable, but they're not, because you have different standards for different, again, we still have private rail, but it's for freight, and we're still number one when it comes to freight rail transportation, but when it comes to passenger rail, we're on the other side of the spectrum. And then this guy here saying, working for IT most of my life, I know that integrating systems is not a small task. Add politics to the equation, and we're looking at a 3 to 5 year project at best. End of 29 completion date is a big 4K 3D mirage. So this is quite sad to see. And then he asks here, what I don't understand is why is that PTC integration task did not begin in parallel with the building of the tracks in the Miami Central Station. Well, this is the same people who built this station that it was supposed to be for Amtrak. There's a reason why Amtrak trains are not on that station. It's because they made the platform too short in order to have a full Amtrak train even get onto there. So I've said this before. They were supposed to have Amtrak coming off from the station. That was supposed to be the new Miami station for Amtrak as well. Amtrak has not been able to get at that station because it's too short to allow Amtrak trains. So if you guys do visit there, I believe it's still there. There's still Amtrak signs and an empty part of the station that has never been touched because of that stupid, silly mistake. Again, this is two-dimensional measurements, and Miami could not figure this out. So of course they're not going to be able to figure that out for there. But again, Florida man strikes again when it comes to measurements. So here we are. So this is why people are coming to Virgin Trains, because they already have the service going on. So this is somewhere where Virgin Brightline could be able to take the mantle on. Could they possibly put in a new service, maybe like a lower tier commuter service that runs separately on a different schedule outside of the regular Virgin train schedule that goes, express? This is more of a commuter rail. Would you think they would be able to do something like that? That could be a possibility, to run that in lieu and in parallel with Virgin Brightline if Tri-Rail cannot take up that mantle. So let me know what you think. Leave it in the comment below. Brightline, a possible commuter service along with their express rail service. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this, go ahead, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the American Rail Club. Let me know what you think. We'll see you all next time.